found myself telling my husband that the reason I stay up so late was so I could get a little bit of me time where no one was asking me for anything. His response felt like a punch to the gut. Caption reads, he was helping me clean up dinner, and I told him that one of my goals for 2024 was to go to bed earlier, but that it kind of stunk because it was the only me time that I got. You know, the only time where someone wasn't asking me for something, reaching up to be held, coming in for a hug, needing nursed, needing listened to, needing shoes tied or lunches packed, or. And my husband nodded and said, I understand. Some days I get that at work if I'm able to line my apprentice out on his own, or if I'm on a job I feel comfortable with, I can put my earbuds in, listen to country music, and just get to wiring something. You don't know my husband, but his entire aura is non-judgmental and nonchalant. He gives everyone the benefit of the doubt. He knows everyone has a reason, a trauma, a heartache that causes them to act the way they do. So when I tell you, he said this not to make me feel bad, but to relate. Relate I did. Also, feel bad I did. And I got to thinking, he's right. My husband has a no me time either. The internet is telling me I need to demand me time, that a shower doesn't count, that my drive to the store doesn't count. But my husband counts the time he's on the clock for someone else while working in a customer's home, kneeling on concrete, or laying on a dirt crawl space floor as me time. Yikes. He doesn't come home and disappear to a man cave and watch TV. He comes home and rocks babies, cleans up spills, helps with homework, preps dinner, runs a bath, reads a book. Maybe me time is the quiet I sometimes get to eat lunch while a baby naps. Maybe it's the walk with my mom pushing a stroller. Maybe it's a hot shower on a sore back before I crawl into bed with my spouse. Maybe we redefine the term the internet has taken control of. We find contentment in our season of life and the restrictions it causes us for right now, and we look forward to all those little moments instead of yearning for and sacrificing sleep, sanity, and relationships for a time that isn't in the cards for us right now. That is one of the best videos and messages I have ever seen on the internet. I think that this should be played for and read to and read by everyone who's planning on getting married or starting a long-term union with a person, for real. The truth and the understanding in that is, like, this couple is going to be one of the longest lasting, like, happiest environments that child could ever grow up in. And I'm in such a unique position to where I can see both sides of this, because for the longest time I was the primary earner, and it made sense for me to be the one who earned income because my husband gave up everything to be as close to and as available for his son as possible. So the whole time that he's been a dad, it's always been taking odd jobs and kind of, sacrificing much consistency, because it's really hard to find a job that's going to give you every other weekend off and one dinner a week and whatever possible bonus extra time you might get, but is not going to be properly communicated to you until random spur of the hour. That was all before we got a consistent schedule that we had to fight for. But you understand, it was difficult for a really long time. And so when I found a really good, really well-paid, consistent job in the STEM field and we had a baby, I'm thinking, this man has more childcare experience than me. I love my job, and my job is willing to let me go home where I work close by and nurse on my breaks. It makes perfect sense for me to be the income provider and to just switch roles here. And if anybody wants to come in my chat and say, oh, he's less of a man, or you're less of a woman, you're in your masculine, fuck off. Fuck right off. Because did it not make sense? Do our kids not love the shit out of us? If you want to resent the situation, that's great. I'm the one who goes to bed happy in my marriage every night, though. So fuck off if you have anything to say about that. Okay? So now I've gotten to be the husband, and I know exactly what she's talking about when he says that he counts those things as like me time. I remember at the height of the pandemic when I was planning to go get stabbed and the machines broke down and there was this long, long line outside of Meyer. And I was just thinking to myself, like, oh my God, I have like an excuse to just be away from the kids, be away from work. This is paid for me. Like, I'm getting paid to be here and paid to have an extended leave. And I was like practically on vacation in that Meyer line, you know? Because I was also one of those parents who I'm not about to come home and abandon my husband who's had his hair pulled and nails painted and screamed at and yelled at and pulled in every which way and hasn't had time to watch a TikTok video all day. I'm not about to abandon him in the war zone either. So I've been there. And then I've also been, I'm like now I'm the one who has to do the hard things that my husband has done as the primary caretaker. And it is really tough too because you're like, man, I gotta really like find my me time. But I guess I'm just grateful that I've gotten to experience both because not a lot of people will. And so this kind of perspective is the only chance that they'll get to really glean at seeing both sides of it. Because not a lot of us will really get to. We're usually in one role or the other. And so it's really hard to not look at it and be like, my job's obviously harder, you know what I mean? But I will say, having been the one who leaves the house and has to go to job and compete with other people, like the fact that that's now what my husband is off to do, I definitely appreciate that. Like, I'm happy to feed him, make sure that he has food for lunch and comes home to dinner and comes home to a clean house because I get it, it sucks. And if there's days that I'm exhausted and he doesn't come home to dinner and he doesn't come home to a clean house, he's not about to give me a hard time either because he also knows that by the time I pick up the kid from school, like I am in full-time mom mode and it gets busy, as you know. I just loved this.